Hello guys, welcome to episode 11 of What the Tech. My name is Adam Lobo and today we are joined by...
Vernon.
Okay, so in case y'all did not know that Vernon has been in the industry for more than 15 years. He started when, there was just blogs, there's no social media. I always wanted him to be in a podcast because besides us being very close friends for so many years, every time when we start talking, we cannot stop. So that's good news.
That's true. I mean, thanks for the introduction. I think I met Adam a little while ago, and it was like during an LG event or something.
Yes.
And then we started to kind of see each other more during events. And
See each other more,
yeah. We got to know each other, and I think we share a lot of common values. That's why we became very fast friends, and it's been about tech and all that stuff all together since then. So yeah, hope it's going to be a fun session today.
It will be because I'm definitely looking forward for this conversation because it has lots of very interesting news. So just to let you guys know that for the news this week, we have the Google Pixel 9A launch, which technically just launched by the time we're recording this video, which is on Thursday morning. So it was yesterday night. Unfortunately, we do not have the devices here, but we're going to dive deeper into that story. The second story would be the S26 Ultra might come with a very long lost feature, which Samsung started with other smartphones followed. They stopped it. Don't know why they stopped it. ASUS has released an ROG Phone 9 FE version here in Malaysia. And the community question, and also something that we've also wrote about in our website, which is the iPhone 17's Air, rumored to be portless as well. So, of course, when it comes to leaks and rumors, you have to take it with a pinch of salt or a whole bucket of salt, as you say, because that's why we are here to do this. Now, if you guys would like for us to talk about any other topics, or if you want to participate in this discussion that both Vernon and I are doing today, be sure to comment at the comment section below. And if you're listening to this podcast, it's available in every podcast platform, audio podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, that annoying Spotify, which I don't like, but it's available for those of you who are actually listening as well. Okay, so let's go for the very first news. Vernon, we have the Google Pixel 9A launch. Now, what's interesting is that this particular launch is in conjunction with the release of a budget phone. So based on this, you being in the industry for the longest time, what are your thoughts about this new Pixel 9A?
I mean, it's something that a lot of manufacturers are doing, isn't it? Trying to sell something that's flagship specs or with features, and trying to accommodate a kind of like a more accessible crowd or audience. I think it works because all the manufacturers are doing it, and based on what happened with the Pixel 8a, for instance, which also did very well, and I think this 9a would be a step above. I think it's priced quite nicely, 2007 or thereabouts.
Yeah, the exact official price in Malaysia is 2,699.
Yeah, it's about 499 USD.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So, I think it packs the features that someone who wants a flagship phone but cannot afford it kind of phone kind of audience that want this kind of phone has a good camera, something that the Pixel is known for, and of course, being a budget phone, the build quality is a little bit less. It's plastic. It's not glass as the Pixel Pro XL. But otherwise, also it has a bigger battery.
Speaking of the design, you noticed that they came up with a new no camera bump design. Is that something which you like to see in smartphones? Because according to MKBHD's video, he said that apparently a lot of people commented on all of his videos and say that I don't care about making the phone slim. This is apparently what people say. They say, I don't care about making the phone slim, but I want to just eliminate the camera bump and give me a bigger battery. That's exactly what the Google Pixel 9a has done. What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's a very individual kind of opinion. For me, I don't really mind a camera bump as long as it's not too big and ugly. There are phones out there which are big and ugly, so that's not something I like to see. But for this, I'm not too bothered about the camera bump. I think it's nice that there's no camera bump on it, but I feel design-wise is a little bit plain, and to be honest, it's a little bit underwhelming.
Okay.
With the camera bump here, the camera module, I mean, and I'm a little bit bothered as well by the angles of the rectangle and also the shape of the phone. They don't match per se, but I guess that's the design language that's you would see in the Pro and the XL as well.
I like the fact that there's no camera bump, but I'm with you on you don't mind the camera bump. I just don't like if the camera bump is making the phone wobble, because I'm the kind of person who do not use a case. I like to use a phone without a case, right? And you know how, like, if you use a smartphone like the S23 Ultra or even any one of the S23 Plus, S25 Ultra, and any one of the Ultra series from Samsung, because the camera bump is towards the left, what happens is that when I tap the phone on a surface, it talk, it moves.
I see that a lot in your videos.
Exactly.
That you do that little test.
Because I thought I was the only one, but a lot of people also tend to do that, especially if you're working, because I'm half the time on my laptop or even on my desktop on the Mac Studio, and my phone is laid down flat, as opposed to some people like to lay it down like that, right?
That's right.
Yeah, so, but putting a case would solve that problem. I like the fact that they change this camera bump. It looks almost like what Nothing is doing with their different camera arrays. But the good news is that this Pixel 9a has two cameras compared to the iPhone 16e.
Exactly.
So what are your thoughts about that?
What thoughts about this camera or the 16e?
Knowing the fact that the 16e has just one and this has two cameras.
Okay, but I think in this modern age and in 2025, it's incredible that manufacturers are coming out with a phone with just a single camera. I think it's a little bit,
I agree.
I think a little bit more than disappointing.
Okay.
Because I think rather than just have one main camera, there should be a secondary, whether it's a zoom or it's an ultra wide. It's just what you do and use every day.
Yeah.
So having just one is a little bit of a limitation, I feel.
Okay.
But that's Apple for you, right? Apple has a strategy where they may not want you to buy that phone particularly. They want you to upgrade to maybe the 16 or the 16 Pro, right? Their pricing strategy is always spot on, and they know how to kind of tie, pull at your heartstrings and say, okay, maybe I'll pay $300 more for the Pro.
Yeah, so I think, imagine when uncle, auntie goes to the Apple store and they go like, hi, what is your most affordable iPhone? They hand the 16e and they go like, oh, only got one camera. Well, if you want another camera, here's the iPhone 16.
Yeah.
So I think the sales way of doing things is really amazing.
It is a pricing strategy that has absolutely worked for Apple. It's the same when I wanted to buy, let's say, an iPad Pro versus a normal iPad, maybe an iPad Air, because kind of similar in some way, but there's that little extra where, it's a ProRes, Pro XDR kind of display that you're not going to get on an iPad Air, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, Apple's really good at that. And you tend to spend a little bit more because you don't want to miss out on certain things. Like, for instance, the 16, you have dual cameras, as compared to the iPhone 16e. But what I really dislike is the fact that they killed the SE. I thought the SE in its own was a really good product.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a really good product that was really that affordable iPhone, maybe someone's first iPhone that you could afford. And I thought that was a very good entry into the Apple ecosystem, rather than trying to convince people to buy a flagship device where you can't afford it. Yeah.
I get where you come from, but I think, I'm not from Apple, but I think the reason they did that is because First of all, the last iPhone SE was iPhone SE 3, if I'm not mistaken. And if they're going to release it's like 4, then people get confused, especially the new age. But yeah, I understand about how the SE had that sort of like their own trademark. It's like, oh, this is the SE, the most affordable one.
And people liked it because of the size, right? It was like a smaller phone and people just wanted it.
But another question is that gets us wondering is that, so when the iPhone 17 release, are they going to release together with the 17e or is it going to be a separate release next year again?
That's a tough call, but I feel they might even do that. It has to do with keeping the interest up. So there's a story to tell along the way after the launch. That's usually in September or so, right? I think they might stick to that strategy, but who knows?
What's going to happen with the Plus then?
I don't know.
Right?
Honestly, I don't know. There are
Apit's
rumors
favorite phone.
Yeah. There are rumors that they're going to kill it, but
yeah, there were rumors about
what do you
that.
think about that?
I think that they should maintain it, but I don't think they can maintain having so many different phones at one go, because the reason why Apple has always taken their time, the reason why they always taken their time on releasing phones is because they don't have enough units to ship. Because they are one of the top selling phones in the world.
Yeah,
good problem.
Yeah.
So imagine if they come out 17e, 17, 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max, and the Plus has 5 phones.
I think Steve Jobs will just wake up from his grave and get,
He said, what are you doing?
what are you guys doing? You guys should have 3 products,
Okay.
And this is what he used to do, right?
Exactly.
Good, better, best.
Yep.
That's it.
Exactly.
That's all you need.
Or, since you read a lot of books like me, you know what they said? Try not to give people a choice.
Yeah, that's true.
That will be one of the best ways, because if you tell people A or B, then they don't know. And if you bring number 3, it's even worse. So you might as well just don't give them a choice or just provide them with no choice at all.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you did mention about how you felt like the price was okay for an iPhone, but some may argue that if you look spec to spec, let's not look at the ecosystem and stuff, right? So if you compare between the iPhone 16e and the Google Pixel 9a, first of all, on the Google Pixel 9a, you get a bigger screen, which is a 6.3 versus 6.1. You have 2 cameras, as mentioned earlier. The battery is bigger. Again, battery is very subjective because we all know that battery optimization on the Bionic chipset has always been one of the best. Of course, you have faster wired charging, and the wireless charging, interestingly, is actually the same. But the most important thing to know is the fact that...
Sorry, no MagSafe on iPhone 16e.
Oh yeah, there's no MagSafe. I forgot about that. I couldn't live without it. It happened to me a few times. So when I was daily driving the phone, I sat in the car, I put it, and then it fell down. Thankfully, it has your ceramic shield and all. So it happened to me a few times. Yes, you can use a case, but again, holding the phone without a case is so nice, right? So, and also the cases, the official cases which come is without MagSafe too. Yeah. So I always like the official cases. But yeah, you mentioned about the price, but with all of this additional stuff that the Google Pixel 9a has, the pricing though, because the Google Pixel 9a is 2,699 as mentioned, but the iPhone 16e is 2,999. So what are your answer towards people who is going to argue about that factor, saying that, hey, you're going to pay that extra money?
Yeah. I think the question is, which platform do you pick? And it's a very individual choice, whether you want an Android or do you want to be in an Apple ecosystem. Yeah. That's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
If you're going to get the 16e, it's still the cheapest iPhone.
That's right.
Right? In the 16 lineup. You can buy an older phone, yeah, sure. But I would say that someone who's in the market for the iPhone 16e is probably not looking at the Pixel to buy.
Very good point.
Pixel in itself as a package, I think is very attractive. 2,699 if you're into an Android phone, which is, no frills and as Google intended it, Android as Google intended, which is nice. I'm a fan of a Pixel, so I don't have one yet. But yeah, I was looking at the Pixel Pro and the 9 Pro and the XL as well. So, but yeah, in terms of price, I think it's a good value proposition. They've done enough to kind of tick all the check boxes, and you don't feel that you're being stifled like in the iPhone 16e. So if you're looking at a Pixel, you want an affordable phone, Pixel 9A is pretty good choice.
All right. Thank you. Moving forward, the next story would be the S26 Ultra might bring back the long lost camera feature from the S9. Now, what's interesting is that for those of you who have been following Samsung's S series, the S9 was the very first smartphone that had the variable aperture. I remember shooting that exact phone in Paradigm Mall, and I remember focusing on the camera module at the back to change the aperture and go like, wow.
There's a mechanical kind of, you see the aperture.
Exactly.
Right.
What are your thoughts about Samsung bringing it back into the Galaxy S26 Ultra if that is really the case?
I think my question would be why. They killed it with the S20. I mean, I was a fan of the S9 and the S10 Plus, and I told you earlier that I still have them. Don't use them anymore because the batteries are like a little bit screwed over the years. But it was a very interesting and useful feature, I think, for those who are photography enthusiasts, where you kind of want to control depth of field, or maybe you want to have better night shots. You could play with the aperture. But on a new modern phone, I think computational photography has come so far. And you have so much AI, all this AI stuff that's going on into cameras. You don't really need a mechanical kind of apparatus to deliver that kind of results. I mean, you already see all this post-processing in our phones right now. You want to get depth of field, no problem. Just a slide of the finger, and you get that. So I'm not really sure why they want to bring this back. Maybe they have a more advanced version. Of course, you cannot beat a mechanical kind of mechanism. But I mean, let's see. S26, why not? S26 Ultra.
I actually agree with you.
With 3 phones, 3 cameras, 4 cameras.
Yeah, usually the Ultra will have 4 cameras. But I mean, this is super early to say because usually the Ultra or the S25 will be only released like towards the early of the year. So we literally just came back from Unpack like a couple of months ago. I am with you about the fact that why now? Because like the last camera smartphone that I tested the physical aperture was the Huawei Mate X6, the foldable, and also the Mate XT has that as well.
How do you find it?
It was good, but it's not like I can't live without it because we reached to a point whereby the digital aperture control, which a lot of smartphones has done it very well, besides the iPhone, like the Vivo and the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, you can always
Which is
adjust.
amazing.
Yes, it is.
It's amazing.
So
Yeah.
that video is coming up soon. Because when I saw the pictures coming out from the Vivo X200 Pro and also when the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, when you see the different kinds of focal lengths available, like 23mm, 85mm, you can see the shallow depth of field. It does not look like it's fake, like how it was last time.
Absolutely.
So you're right. I'm excited, but I don't think that it's a wow factor in 2025. I just wish they had brought Bluetooth back to the S Pen instead. If they had to bring back something, right? But that is just me nitpicking. But yeah, I just wanted to be the devil's advocate here, like you, to say why now.
Yeah.
And whether they're going to bring it, it's great. But if they brought it like, in the S10, S11, like how they really trademarked the S Pen in their phones, which nobody followed it. I think they should have just maintained that and don't fix something which is not broken.
Do you think that we've come to a stage where the bottom line is, the baseline is already so good that they needed something else to kind of enhance it? They needed another story to tell with the S26.
Yeah, could be.
Do you think? I mean, everything's about AI right now. It's becoming a bit boring and monotonous. But maybe a mechanical thing, in the age of 2025, maybe we'll get something to talk about.
Could be. And what's interesting is that just looking at the picture of the Galaxy S9, right? There's no camera bump.
I love it. To be honest, the S9 and S10 were like my favorite.
The S10 for me.
Galaxy phone.
I think the S10 was one of the first ones to have like a vertical landscape camera layout.
Yeah.
You know, so good. The screen was nice, just nice in the hands. But yeah,
Missed the good old days.
yeah, the S10 had that frame around the camera bump. So I welcome not having camera bump, but as long as the camera bump, so like the Pixel 9 Pro XL and the Pro has that visor, but the way it props the phone is like gives you an angle like as though it's like a mini stand, so it doesn't wobble at all. So yeah, I think let us know what your thoughts are. Do you think that this particular feature of having the aperture control, the mechanical one, matters to you, or you feel like you can just live with the different kinds of AI processing? Because I went for MWC. I haven't done a video on that, but I wanted to also, because everybody talks about Snapdragon, I wanted to highlight how powerful MediaTek chipset is, because one of the reasons why the Vivo X200 Pro and Oppo Find X8 Pro is so good is because of the MediaTek Dimensity chipset.
They've come a long way.
Yeah, exactly. Because they used to come up as the budget chipset, and right now they come up with really good stuff, and that's the reason why you see the great image processing for both of the phones. So yeah, that would be for the story of that. Then the next thing is a very surprising launch from ASUS, where they released the ROG Phone 9 FE. What are your thoughts about that?
Anything that drives sales, I guess.
Okay.
But I mean, again, it's a little bit like it's like the 16E and the 9A, right? It's to meet a market that's looking for flagship-like specs, but with a kind of like a thinner wallet kind of thing. I think the FE kind of meets that. And I was talking to you earlier about the fan edition, where I think Xiaomi was the one who started it first.
Yeah.
In those days.
Long time ago.
And then Samsung came with the Galaxy FEs, right?
Yeah. They came out of that. They came out of the Note because of what happened with the Note 7. Then they came out their own FE version. Then eventually they came up with so-called flagship killers, which eventually did kind of kill their own flagship. Was too good.
Killed their own flagship because they were really flagship phones that were packed in a kind of like a cheaper case.
Yeah.
Less build quality, design wasn't that great, but in the end, performance-wise, if you want that performance to price ratio, that was a very good deal. The fan edition for the ROG, I think it looks quite interesting in terms of specs, in terms of power. What do you think?
Again, it comes with a very competitive price. And it's funny because for the past
Same
few
price as
months...
the iPhone 16e.
So it's 2,999, same price as the iPhone 16e. It comes with a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chipset, 12 gigabytes of RAM, 256 gigabytes of storage, and 5,500 milliamps of battery. So I feel like this particular thing is actually very competitive, and it is also in line with a lot of releases as of late, just barely touching the 3,000 mark.
Maybe that's the sweet spot right now.
Could be, but look at it this way. If people really want that performance, if you go one step higher, you get the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, but you only pay 1,000 ringgit more. I know 1,000 ringgit is a lot, but you do have 5,800 milliamps of battery. So in your opinion, do you think that just with 1,000 ringgit, you rather go with the ROG Phone 9 if you're in a gamer shoe, or you think that, I'm happy with the 9FE?
I think it's a tough call. But if you're in the market for, let's say, the ROG Phone 9, you probably wouldn't be considering the FE. Or if you're an FE, you probably wouldn't be considering the 9. Because $1,000, like you said, although it doesn't sound like much, but if you're really price sensitive and you're in that segment, $1,000 is going to be a lot of money.
Yeah, that's true.
We're not talking about $100 and $200, so $1,000 quite a lot. But I mean, looking at it, looking at the specs right now, You get 341 programmable mini LEDs compared to the phone 9, which only has 85. So that's a win,
Yep.
kind of.
Huge win. Yeah. 85 versus 648. I mean, we tried the Pro, very good phone. But again, this is so much catered towards the real gamers. Speaking of gamers, do you still think that gaming smartphones is a thing in year 2025? The reason I ask because like even some phones, like other phones which using the Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset, like the S25 Ultra and other ones, even though it's not a gaming centric phone, but when you play something heavy like Genshin Impact, it still does very well.
Sure.
So do you still feel like this gaming centric phone is, like something which people look for in year 2025, or you feel like there's a audience specifically for it?
I think this is a very good question. It's very interesting. And I feel it's still and always will be very niche. So it is a niche product, and they cater to a certain segment of hardcore kind of users who really want a gaming phone. You're right to mention that a lot of the, let's say, the flagship phones are capable of high-end gaming. Same with the iPhone.
Yeah.
iPhone's excellent for gaming, for high-end graphics and stuff like that. But it's not marketed as a gaming phone. So the thing that ROG is doing differently is building that ecosystem around it. You've got all the accessories, and all that stuff, the gamepad,
Good point.
whatever. I think that's a very purposeful kind of product compared to, let's say, a plain Jane ASUS phone.
Yeah.
So that's for the mass market, but this one's not. So you're willing to pay for that.
Yeah.
And you want to be in that ecosystem of gaming products and accessories.
So do you think, based on your understanding of how, because you've been around for so long, do you think that the ROG 9FE will oversell the ROG 9 because of the 1,000 ringgit difference?
No, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a subset of the market that's in the gaming phone overall.
Yeah, I think for me, I just feel like it's a good way for people who cannot afford a gaming phone who wanted to try. The UI has improved a lot on the Pro Edition when we try that. But again, I think it all comes down to the price, and the price is pretty competitive. And the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, it's not a slouch either.
No,
it's
obviously
actually
not, yeah.
still very powerful. A lot of smartphones are still using this and is going strong. But I think the biggest question that people need to ask themselves before buying the phone is that, of course, the software updates, because it's obviously not as good as what Samsung provides or the Google Pixels of the world when it comes
Not
to
as quick and not as frequent.
yeah. But speaking of quick, the One UI version 7 hasn't been very quick. So a lot of people have been very
It's
upset
a
with
big
it.
update, I guess.
Yeah, it is a big update, but like people like us, we are very fortunate because we always get to try the new devices. But I'm speaking on behalf of the ones who bought the previous flagships. So it has been slower than usual. I can understand why it's later, but yeah, I think the idea of it being late also can be quite sakit hati lah for people who are really looking into that as well. Okay, then the next thing that we're going to be talking about, and this is the same question that we asked on our YouTube community page, where you give a poll and answer. So this is based on the iPhone 17 Air having a portless phone. It means being a portless phone. So before we even talk about that, do you predict that there will be such thing as an iPhone 17 Air in the year 2025?
I don't think it'll happen in 2025.
Interesting.
It's an interesting idea to have a completely portless phone. But I feel it's more for a cool factor rather than functional. And I think technology is important, where it either drives something new, completely cutting edge, or it solves a problem. Does this solve a problem? So my question is, does this actually solve a problem without a port? It may look nicer because, aesthetically, Apple always wants to keep things simple and clean. But I feel functionally it's something of a detriment to our consumers' lives. What do you think? I'm not sure if you share the same view. I know you like aesthetic things and also simple
Yes,
and
exactly.
beautiful things as well.
This is a very good question. I like how we have contrasting opinions on things, which is great, even though we are so close. First of all, to address the question whether or not there will be an iPhone 17 Air, I think there will. The reason why this year is because the rumors have been coming out so frequently. I feel like the chances of the iPhone 17 Air to come versus the new iPhone 17 design change, I think the Air is more likely to happen. So if you had to measure it, I feel like the chances of iPhone 17 Air, because of the only thing they need to do is to insert the new silicon carbon battery. They don't have to really do a huge design change. It could look exactly like the iPhone 16. But it is making thinner. So that is my idea and why I feel like that is coming up. And there's too many leakers. And when you see too many leakers coming up on that, the portless one, that idea of the portless one came like many years ago.
Yeah.
So like people like John Prosser talk
This
about it.
This was pre-USB-C.
Right?
They said they were removing the lightning port and Apple's just not going to do USB-C. We're just going to remove all the ports.
Exactly, but that
everything
didn't
a
happen.
wireless.
But that didn't happen.
Wireless device, yeah. That didn't happen. It's impossible.
So looking at the comments, we had a couple of comments here. So we have from NASA D's 92. He said removing the ports limits the phone's functionality. I doubt that this would catch on. What do you mean? I mean, since you said that's your point, what do you mean by phone's functionality per se?
Yeah, so you don't have an option to charge your phone via cable, which is removing a functionality.
I agree. And also,
of course, there's wireless charging, but wireless charging is also slower.
Yeah. And also, because I shoot in ProRes a lot on the iPhone. Fun fact, when I went to MWC, I didn't use my Sony camera at all. I used the iPhone ProRes all the way. So the quality is fully ProRes. Of course, AirDrop a ProRes file will take you 7 years and 20 months. So I think that functionality is very important to use a wired option, or you can just connect an SSD directly to an iPhone, and that will give you faster. Although it's not the fastest USB-C port, but I agree with it when it comes to functionality.
I just had a port. I just had a thought about the port, right? So if there's a portless phone, Apple has the opportunity to create a dongle for you.
What kind of dongle?
That plugs in from the MagSafe with a USB port. So you can use.
That's a very good thought. It's the similar thought where last week I thought
about.
But
it might happen.
No, you're right. It's similar. Like
sell you for USD $99.
That's a very good point. It's like the Apple wheels. Remember the wheels? Okay, I feel that it's similar like what I mentioned last week. You know how Xiaomi came up with that modular thing using magnets at the back?
Which is really cool.
Super cool. I love it.
Cool. Yeah.
But
reminds me of Motomods.
Oh, yes.
Remember?
Correct.
Motorola
with
the Motomods.
Oh my God.
Those were cool.
Totally forgot about that. That's why we need someone old school like Vernon here to actually remind us. Since Apple was the first one who kind of introduced MagSafe and all into the whole ecosystem, imagine if, since I use ProRes a lot, so imagine if Apple were to come out with something like that. Oof, that would be so amazing, right? So
yeah, I mean, it's also time for MagSafe 2.0 or 3.0, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be much quicker and
fast charging, or even additional.
As quick. I mean, if it charges as quick as a USB-C, then okay, maybe I'll be convinced, but I don't know. But coming back to the iPhone 17 Air, if it was a non-portless iPhone 17 Air, then that might happen.
Yeah.
And we were also talking about the Plus, right?
Yeah.
Earlier on, where it might get canned. And it could just be a change of name, product name. And instead of an iPhone 17 Plus, you get an iPhone 17 Air instead.
Oh, yeah. That could replace.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we all have to wait and see. Yeah, that's a very good point. There are other comments here from HTK. He says, I don't underestimate the Apple fanboys' willingness to accept whatever garbage decision from Apple.
I kind of agree in some way.
Okay, please explain.
They're not called Apple sheep for nothing, right? So, I mean, I'm an Apple fan. Just that. I don't kind of blindly accept whatever garbage decisions Apple makes.
Okay. Then Nashades 92 says that he can't disagree, but of course he hopes that other brands don't follow. But other brands seems to be following.
They do. So Apple kind of sets the precedent usually.
They always did.
Yeah, dynamic island, removing ports, stuff like that.
Okay. So yeah, let us know your thoughts about the iPhone 17 Air. Do you think it's going to be coming? Let us know in the comment section below. Or if you're listening, you can always, give us your feedback. Just head on to our YouTube channel and go to the community page or just comment on this particular video. It'll be easier for us to track back again. So that would be for the different news and leaks that we have and the releases as well. As for video releases, the iPhone 16e review was out. Battery is amazing. Cameras are good, although yes, it's limited. I did like a point system to see whether or not people should go with the iPhone 16e. And I think we briefly talked about it earlier, so we won't go back to talking about that. But I think in a nutshell, not every phone is made for us or for you who are listening or watching. Some phones are made for your uncle, auntie. And in the end of the day, it's an iPhone. So I think by hook or by crook, there will be people buying the phone. Very interesting, when I went to MWC, obviously we had to go and see the Apple store in Barcelona. Beautiful. I still think Malaysia is better. But majority of the people were at the iPhone 16e counter.
Interesting.
And also at the iPad counter.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
there is that.
Yeah, there is that.
I guess Apple has their market research or whatever.
Exactly.
They know their customers, right? They know the audience.
Exactly. Yeah. Then another 3 video reels that we have released are short form videos about the Lenovo Legion Go S. Now, I have to be completely honest. I think a lot of people who have been watching the channel know that I am not the biggest gamer in the world. I'm trying to get into it because I just read this book called Rest. And he's laughing.
Which you get none.
Yes, so he's laughing because he knows me that well. And one of the ending topics or the passage, because I finished the book like 2 days ago. That was
so
quite
that's
fast.
Why you're not sleeping.
Maybe. And one of the topics that he talked about is having deep play, right? So deep play meaning like, if you're going to play, make sure to play properly.
Hard.
Yeah. That way is the best way for you to become a bit more productive. So I'm like, okay. When I got my hands on a Lenovo Legion Go S, I thought that, this is going to be my handheld device. And so far, it has been great. The 3 reels were talking about the unboxing experience, how ergonomic it felt. And the third one would be based on the different gaming tests that we have done. Now, since you haven't got your hands on it yet, I want to know what are your thoughts about handheld gaming in year 2025?
Again, it meets a certain segment of gamers. This is a subset of the gamers, right? Those who are at PCs or in the consoles, they also want to bring something on the go. I know a couple of people like that, and since the PSP days, people with handhelds or Nintendo DSs or whatever. But yeah, I think it's for the gamer who just wants to also continue playing games on the go. I think there is a market for that. And I think the Legion Go and the Legion Go S are the ones that really do it very well. I feel Lenovo Legion really brought the A game with this particular product. Yeah.
Yes, nice. Yeah, so stay tuned for our full in-depth review of this. We're going to do a YouTube video to kind of combine all of our thoughts and what you see on the short form reels in case you guys haven't checked it out. And the next video that will be coming soon would be the Xiaomi 15 Ultra.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah. So
amazing camera.
Before, this is going to be released on Saturday. So which means that by the time you're watching this video, it'll be out already. So if you haven't watched that video, feel free to watch it. But in the end of the day, I went a bit technical on that video because
photography stuff.
Yeah, so meaning like I had to explain. So the title of the video was why your smartphone camera isn't as good as you think it is. Because you know how every year when smartphones come up with their own, okay, we came up with a new upgraded camera, and they always talk about software, but they don't even really bother about the hardware specs of it. So things like, you know how I'm sure because you use an iPhone, I use an iPhone. When we try to record videos at night, it's amazing. Meaning the lens flare is still, for the life of me, I don't know why it still happens. But after Xiaomi talking about the different coating system they use for their lens, although iPhone did say that the new 16 had a different coating, but I still face the flares, which, you know, to a point whereby like when I see social media videos, I can tell that they use the iPhone because of the flares. So I wanted to also emphasize about how the Xiaomi 15 Ultra uses a 1-inch sensor, because the Vivo X100 the 100 Pro used a 1-inch sensor, but for some strange reason they removed it on the X200 Pro.
Right.
But it didn't feel like it was missing because of the MediaTek Dimensity's chipset, and that's why if you compare the Xiaomi 15 Ultra and the Vivo X200 Pro, spoiler alert, video on that coming soon. I've noticed that there was a slightly better performance on a very crazy zoom on the Vivo because of the AI processing. So in that video on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, we are talking about more on the hardware reasons on why is it better, because sometimes people don't like that fake look.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like you take a picture. But speaking of the fake look, at least they don't do Huawei or even the recent Samsung where they changed, they use AI to switch the moon. I still don't think it's possible, but apparently it is. But yeah, I think if you haven't watched...
It's a conspiracy theory. Right?
Exactly. Right. But I think one of the highlights where when Li Hood was editing the video, he took a screenshot and sent to me because I didn't think that it was that good, but I can say that as of this recording of this video, as of today, the log profile for the Xiaomi 15 Ultra is the best log I've ever seen in my life. Because
is that co-developed with Leica? Or?
No, it is co-developed with Leica, but also is ASUS certified, which is movie
I was
standard.
also going to ask if the lenses were co-developed.
Yes. Yeah, it's Leica. So, of course, so that's why you have that. And I think the Leica filters are so much more versatile than Zeiss ones. You have the Leica Authentic and Vibrant as the basic ones, but there are other filters like your,
color science is...
The color science is nicer compared to Hasselblad, where it's just changing your color to orange, the camera button, and that's about it. Other than that, I don't see. But I think who is doing more work here is the software for... Right. Even though Hasselblad was for the Oppo Find X8 Pro, Vivo is Zeiss. It's quite interesting to see all these different kinds of collaboration, but I still think that, you know, the software also plays a huge role. So if you haven't seen the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, watch that video and come back here and let us know your thoughts, or you can even comment directly over there as well.
I've seen some sample of photos shot on the Xiaomi 15 Ultra. They're amazing.
Yeah, I think...
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
The details.
You know, it's quite interesting because the marketing materials for the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, they've always focused more on street photography and capturing moments. Hence why when I was at Barcelona, I tried to capture those moments. And it was interesting because it was almost like a point and shoot situation where I just take a picture and it's like, eh. And you can do that with a 100mm shot, or you can even do it to up to 200mm shot. It still looks very tech sharp. So you don't have to really be up close. And the macro photography, you don't have to have a dedicated lens like some people do it. But the macro photography was also very, very great. I'm still in the midst of testing to compare within that and the Vivo X200 Pro. So stay tuned for that video, which is coming soon. Hopefully I can release it before going. So before we close the whole entire podcast session, next week I'm heading to Singapore. I can't tell why because I signed an NDA. But yeah, stay tuned for.
So you don't
the
announce
reason
it
why.
because you can't tell.
Yeah, so I announced that I'm not going to be around, so Vernon might come back. And at the same time, stay tuned for more releases. Like I said, first and foremost, we are looking to have the Google Pixel 9A here in Malaysia as soon as we get it, because in case you all did not know that it's only recently that the Pixel devices are here officially in Malaysia.
Finally.
Yeah, finally. You don't have to go and buy it from Singapore and Australia. That's exactly what I used to do before this.
DirectD.
Yes.
So,
DirectD last time, but ever since they became MCMC certified, then they couldn't. So that's part of the government thing lah. So now it's fine. Other than that, stay tuned for even more comparison videos that I plan to do. I can't tell yet because I want it to be a surprise for you all. One of it is already mentioned earlier. But yeah, next week is going to be more videos coming soon to you. With that, we'd like to say thank you so much for watching and listening. My name is Adam Lobo.
thank you so much. I'm Vernon signing off. It's been fun.
And we will catch you guys next week.